Beep beep! Hi you guys, it's Rhea, and today I'm going to be reading you a little excerpt from a book that I have coming out very soon called The Tale of Two Wayward Princesses. Now, this is a book I've been working on for quite some time, like a long time, like a really long time, for about like a year now. I've been writing this book, and it's finally coming together the way I've wanted it to. I'm in the editing process right now, and I'm really looking into getting this published. So I wanted to come out and show everyone how it's going. I wanted to see what everyone thought of it, get some feedback, just let it out to the people, see what everyone thinks. Now, it's not just me working on this, it's me and a very, very wonderful friend of mine. Her name is Sebena. She's a great artist, and by great I mean amazing. Her art is beautiful, and she's helped me so much with this book. In fact, we collaborated together with the idea for this book, so she's helped me out quite a bit with character design, and she's helped me out with developing the storyline as well. So the two of us have got this great thing coming out, and we'd like to know what every one of you think about it. So without further ado, here we go. Enjoy! I grunted lightly, trying to keep my voice down so no one would hear me. The halls were so quiet in the mornings. I had learned that yesterday, and I didn't want to upset the usual atmosphere. It was getting harder and harder to do so as time went on, actually. Every minute something on my uniform went haywire, and right now my skirt was giving me some real problems. This was the first time I had ever worn a petticoat, and of course, stubborn old me didn't want to learn how to put it on correctly from the other maids. So I ended up winging it this morning, but I have no clue if I put it on right or not. The worst part of this whole thing was that I didn't even start my shift yet. So, there I was, standing there in front of my doorway, pulling and tugging on different parts of my outfit. I was the picture-perfect definition of uncomfortable, looking left and right to make sure no one saw me trying to fix my skirt in the middle of the hall. Of course, no one was out there to see me, since it was the early morning and all. That didn't stop me from being paranoid, though. Wasn't I standing in front of my doorway, you ask? Wouldn't it have been easier to just walk back inside, fix my uniform, and come back out bright and ready to face the day? Well, I wasn't really thinking at the time. It was my first day, and I was supposed to go on a short tour of the places I would be working in, so I didn't have any clue on how much time I actually had to do anything. It probably would have made more sense, though, going back inside and fixing my outfit. I ended up standing in the hall, wiggling and writhing for a good 15 minutes, all the while waiting for one of the royal family's butlers to come and greet me at my door. I spent that entire time letting my paranoia get to me, continuing to look back and forth, thinking I heard someone walking through the halls, hoping it wasn't another maid or other staff member. It was torture, and if there wasn't a clock on the wall, I would have sworn I had been standing out there for an hour or so. Ah! I finally heard someone else's voice after such a long time. It frightened me a little bit, sending a quick chill up my spine and making me jump slightly. Who was that? I quietly asked myself. After looking around all this time and keeping my paranoia at its highest level I possibly could, I still didn't see this guy coming, or hear his footsteps. Are you the new maid? Your name is Lithia, if I'm not mistaken. Well, he knew my name. That was interesting. With hesitation, and quite a lot of it, I slowly turned around, ready to see whoever this was standing behind me. Whoever it was would be a real sight, I just knew it. I could vaguely remember seeing his face somewhere before. Where that somewhere was, I had no clue. The man was tall, towering over me a bit, but then again I was pretty short. He had the biggest, brightest eyes and a warm smile to match. His face looked genuinely welcoming. He was wearing a brown button-up vest with a white shirt underneath and brown pants to match. His outfit matched the colors of my uniform perfectly. Speaking of uniform, that's exactly how this guy looked. Everything was steamed and pressed to a perfect T. He had his shirt tucked in, and not a single thing on him was out of place. It was kind of amazing, in a creepy sort of way. Yes, that's me. The stiff hesitation I held in my body carried on to my voice when I spoke those words. The man in front of me only chuckled in response, though. He looked down on the small clipboard he was holding in his hand, After pulling out a pen from his pocket on his vest, he checked something off of it, and then turned back to me. "It's very nice to meet you, Miss Lithia." His voice was very kind, very welcoming. He bowed deeply after that, such a sweet gesture. It's unfortunate, though, since I had no clue whatsoever as to responding to sweet gestures. So all I did, when this man greeted me, was stand there with an awkward smile, hoping with everything in me that this moment would end as quickly as it could. "My name is Darren, and I'm the royal family's head butler. On behalf of all of my staff, I'd like to apologize for such a long wait. Lewis, the butler that was supposed to greet you, fell ill this morning. It's been quite a scramble trying to fill all of his duties in such a short amount of time." "Oh," I started awkwardly, smile now dropping. "That's too bad?" Like I said, no clue how to respond to these things. Darren didn't seem to mind my reaction, since he nodded with a weird face. It looked like a mixture of pity, sadness, and irritation. It seemed like the kind of face I would use if someone annoyed me, but I didn't want to admit it. "Yes, yes, it's a shame. It's the 5th time this month that he suddenly fell ill. Poor man must have some kind of condition." Darren pulled out a pen once again and wrote something else down on his clipboard. Once he finished, he sighed, putting the pen back in its place. But that's enough of that. Without any kind of hitch, Darren's welcoming smile returned to his face, as if nothing had ever bothered him in the first place. "I'm here to show you around the castle and give you your first list of tasks. Are you ready to go?" Yep, I'm ready." "That's good," he chuckled slightly. "I love your selective enthusiasm. Let's get going." Selective enthusiasm? I repeated to myself as I slowly followed behind him. This guy was really something, but what that something was, I didn't really know. It was hard to tell so far if I liked him or not. He was welcoming, but seemed pretty shifty. He was sweet, but it seemed like that sweetness had an overly obvious off and on switch, if you asked me. It took me a while, but I soon ended up walking at Darren's side. No matter how odd he was still my guide after all, and I needed to learn my way around if I was actually going to keep this job. No, I didn't technically need this job, but it was far better than the one I was expected to have. You see, I wasn't too similar to the other humans around me, and to be honest, I wasn't human at all. I was what you would call a succubus. No, not the human equivalent to one, an actual succubus. You're probably wondering what a graceful demoness like me was doing working as a maid, right? Well, that was a pretty interesting story. You see, I wasn't like the others of my kind. I was never too interested in the whole game of tricking humans. The others would always give me snide eyes and snide looks when I'd pass up the chance to catch a human guy in my grasp, and I was really tired of it. I never saw the fun in it. I never saw the whole game element. It could have been the fact that I was awkward as heck and could never respond to someone else's flirting in the correct way, but let's leave that out of this for now. All in all, I didn't fit in with them. I wanted a way to get away from all the other succubi, and the only thing I could think to do was to move. That seemed pretty impossible for me, though, a 17-year-old demoness. For the first thing, I didn't have any money, and another thing, who in their right mind would let a girl with horns and a tail rent property from them? So for a little while I thought I'd be stuck, forced to live around a place that didn't really fit me at all. But that all changed after a fateful day of roaming around outside the castle. I used to help my parents sell potions, and thought that I'd get better business in a more populated area. That didn't do me any good, though. It didn't seem that the people were very trusting of a strangely dressed girl offering them the chance of a lifetime. Go figure. Even though I may not have gotten any buyers, I did end up overhearing a few of the other castle maids who had just gotten off of work speaking. They were talking about the royal family wanting to hire new maids to work around the castle. They said something about a few of them quitting randomly without much good reason. I knew that there was a servant hall in the castle and that the royal family would gladly let any of their castle staff stay there if they'd like. So I jumped at the chance. I trimmed my horn and hid my tail to the best of my abilities, and lucky for me, it landed me a job as a new maid. "And here we have the main hall," Darren finally announced after a long time of walking around. We went through many different places. He even showed me a few of the historical artifacts that draped every hall of the castle. Everything was pretty, and it amazed me that this kind of luxury actually existed. But, this was a lot to remember. It seemed like we had gone through the entire castle, especially since my feet felt like they were on fire. We went up and down staircases, into rooms, out of rooms. I don't think I've ever exercised that much in my life. My breath was starting to become a bit labored, and I was almost certain that I was slumping my shoulders. But once again, I don't think Darren actually took notice. This is where the royal family's bedrooms are. They'll most likely spend any time of leisure they have here, since there are many amenities for them to use in this very hall. I started, trying to catch my breath. It was at that very moment that I realized how fast this man walked. Maybe it was because I was far shorter than him. Either way, I was having a hard time keeping up with his pace. This castle is beautiful and all, but is it really necessary for a simple maid to get a full tour of a castle like this? To that, Darren chuckled. I was beginning to get so annoyed with his laugh. He once again pulled out that little pen out of his pocket and let his eyes scroll down the paper that was on his clipboard. Once he reached whatever it was he was looking for, he tapped the board pretty loudly with the point of the pen. Simple maid slipped from his lips in a humorous manner. I don't believe that would be a good way to describe your title. What? Why not? Well, from what I've been told by the king and queen, you're a replacement for one of the maids that recently quit. Yeah? I knew that already. That was the whole point of why I had gotten this job. The maid suddenly quit and didn't tell anyone why. What did that have to do with anything? Those maids who had recently quit were all very high up in titles and extremely close to the royal family. It caused quite an uproar when they left, and since you're a replacement for one of those maids, you'll be training to be head of a department. All this time he kept his head down, staring at that little clipboard of his, meaning that he didn't take any notice to the surprise now filling my face. I couldn't believe it. I took a job filling in for one of the head maids? Did that mean I'd have to one day manage all the rest of them? I could barely keep my parents' shop in check when they'd leave. How the heck was I going to manage a team of staff? Oh, came out of my mouth in such an airy manner. I didn't know what else to say at that moment. Was I supposed to tell him that I couldn't do it? I mean, I could, but I'd run the risk of getting fired on my first day. I swallowed hard, now feeling a wave of discontentment wash over me. How in the heck could I do this? Yep. After our tour is finished, I'll leave you with the current head maid and our staff. She'll introduce you to the king, queen, princess, and nobles that all live in the castle. It would be in your best interest to leave a good impression on them. Well, that was it. I hope you guys enjoyed it because I enjoyed writing it quite a bit. Now, I want to know whatever you thought of it. Give me as much feedback as you possibly can. Please write whatever you thought of the book down in the comments below. But if you don't want to write anything down in the comments, that's fine. You can easily hit me up on one of my social media pages, or hit Sebena up on one of her social media pages too. Check out some of the art she's created for the book as well. I'll put all those down in the description box. Please make sure not only to like our stuff and hit us up, but please make sure to follow us as well so you can keep updated with how things with the book are going. Now, please make sure you can contact me for anything. You can ask me about facts on the books. You can ask me about, little tidbits or what things are about. You can even send me crazy prompts that you find that you want me to write or speak about, whatever. Just tell us whatever you thought. We're hoping to get as much feedback as humanly possible. But, that's actually about it. So, have a fantastic day, guys! And make sure to check out the book when it comes out. I'll tell all of you the date when I find it out. But for now, beep beep! Have a fantastic day, guys! Bye!